And get started. So, like I said, my name is Charlotte, also known as B Charlotte D Cosplay. I've been cosplaying for about 6 or 7 years now. I really enjoy it. I am a huge nerd overall, so I do a variety of cosplays from like comics all the way to like obscure anime and cartoon. I also do like very niche video game ones, and I absolutely love it. And one of the hardest things to do in cosplay is doing photo shoots. And it's a little challenging because you never know what you want, what to expect, and who to work with, even. So, we're going to go over all of that. And yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So, right off the bat, like there are a couple different ways content can be made. There are the official photo shoots, but then there's also like photo sets, just selfies that you can do. And it's really up to what you can budget at the moment for all of this. So, first, we're going to go over the difference between what a photo shoot and a photo set is. Now, it's very slight difference, and both can be amazing quality, and they're both really valid pieces of content that can be posted for like paid services, the like Patreon, coffee, stuff like that. But there are a couple of differences that I like to point out. So, a photo shoot is normally done with a camera, whether that be DSLR, um, just like a point and shoot, just like anything of that variety, and the only real difference is that a photo shoot is specifically not with a phone, at least in my mind. And because of that, it ends up having more professional results. Now, for a photo shoot, you can do your own photography 100%. I've only done that a couple times though, so I would not be considered an expert in that field. It is not something I'm super comfortable like portraying and talking about just because I don't know a ton about like professional self shooting. But on top of that, you can also hire a photographer, which is more what we're going to talk about today because I have a ton of experience for that. Now, photo sets, in my opinion, are a lot more laid back because you can do them literally anywhere on your phone, like on a tablet, and can still look really high quality, especially if you have an up to date phone. But there is a little bit of difference just overall ratio and aesthetics wise that will really vary how you are shooting with your phone compared to a camera just because they can do different things. So, just for comparison, these are the exact same outfits, very similar poses. This one was a shoot that I did that I absolutely loved the results from. You can see that it's on a location that's very aesthetic. You can see that there's a little bit of a lighting kit involved, and the overall results are just like a little bit more natural. Now, for the phone one, I did go through and edit it a little bit on my own. And you can tell that it is just a little bit, not as professional looking, not as clean. The colors aren't as crisp, which I could have done this, but it was more of a fast paced content. For the photo sets basic, there's a couple things that I use to create this kind of content. I use a ring light that has a tripod on it, specifically one from Amazon. I think it cost me about $25. And something that I think really elevates the photo set content is a fun or themed background. If you go on my Instagram, all my content is in the same little corner, but if I'm able to, I try to do something outside and really make it aesthetic for the character if I'm able to, especially if I don't plan to do a full photo shoot. For convenience and a little bit of like help for yourself, it is going to be easier if you get a little Bluetooth clicker. You can find those on Amazon as well, or even just like a timer setting that you can start on a watch and or Bluetooth sync device. Now, I mentioned earlier that sometimes I edit my own photos on like my phone, and these are the ones that I personally use. I use Beauty Plus, which is great for editing photos, doing wrinkle and acne fixes, adding lipstick if you forgot to put it on. And I really like this one. There is a pro version of this app that I really enjoy and I subscribe to. I think it was like $40 for an entire year, which I know is a little expensive, but I use all the pro features all the time and it is super duper worth it. I absolutely love the pro version of this app. And then I also use one called PhotoGrid. These are all on like specifically iPhone for sure, but I do know that some of them cross over into the like Google Play Store, I believe. I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but PhotoGrid is really good for making collages and simple edits. I use this all the time for promotional posts or informational ones. In fact, the promo for this panel was made with that. And it's really easy. They do also have a pro one, but I don't subscribe to that one. I don't personally think it is worth my money. But if you are really into that kind of collage, almost like copy paste and really make it your own edits, it is definitely the app for you. There is also video editing. So I personally use CapCut. It seems to be really, really easy to use. They have templates that you can use, and it is a very widespread app for video editing, which is a huge part of content creation, especially in this day and age. I really, really enjoy doing video work, and I use CapCut for all of my recent YouTube videos. I use it for all my TikToks. Pretty much everything I just run through there if I want to add or mute audio or anything there. And yeah, I really, really enjoy CapCut for editing, all that kind of stuff. It's good. These are an example of the different photo sets that I have personally done. They are very simple, point and click kind of stuff, and I chose like similar poses just so that we can go over the difference in what I did here. So, one of the biggest things I do for my photo sets to make them look professional is to slightly blur the background. It really allows like my figure and my costume that I'm wearing to pop a little bit more and make more of a difference in the algorithm to where it stands out better. I really like how the like blur effect looks on the far right image on the like little demon schoolgirl look that I did. I think it is just really crisp, really clean, and I use the Beauty Plus app to edit that. For the middle Sakura one, I really didn't edit it much at all. I just took it at an event, which was super easy to do, super easy to knock out content, and it is still valid to be able to post it on subscription based content places or just, on Instagram. And then for my pirate look, this was a huge photo shoot that I did. It was like 80 plus photos. I had so much fun taking photos of that look. And I went through and edited what I thought were the best of. So for this one, you can tell that again, I blurred the background on it. I did also take away some of my under eye bags and cleaned up some of my lipstick because it did end up smudging in that one. But all very, very simple edits to do. And this was all done with Beauty Plus app as well as the um, CapCut for all the video ones that I did with these outfits. But very simple, easy to shoot. I would say they all really only took about 20 minutes to do on my phone. And now I have them just to be able to post and promote and do whatever I want with the content. So, to be able to feel comfortable in a costume and cosplay, one of the biggest things, in my opinion, to do is a little bit of character research just so that you can really embody it the way that you want to and be able to portray the character or story that you want to get across. Now, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult depending if you're creating the character or just going based off of like a vibe of a character, or not everything has been released about the character yet that you plan to do. But for me, this is the basics that I go through whenever I'm doing my character research. My very, very first question is, what is the character type? Now, this is like if they are a shy character, a little bit of a like aggressive girl, a schoolgirl, sporty, or even a little bit psychotic, like a Harley Quinn character. Now, again, you don't have to know absolutely everything about a character to be able to type them. It is just being able to understand what their default setting is, if you will. And that really helps me embody the character and allow me to just knock out basic poses that I think represent the mindset and physical body language. Now, there is also character status to keep in mind. This is something that is not super duper thought about, in my opinion, but can really help you embody poses and be able to come up with unique ways to like put yourself in the setting. So, a lot of my characters tend to be like royal or princesses, which means that I can do very dainty, elegant things with my hands and body and almost gesture into like a fantasy like stereotype, you know? The student kind of characters are going to be really easy to just be like cute and shy and be able to like hold books, which is going to add into your prop and location research. And then other defining titles are really going to help put it together with interacting with other people, your space, if you own the space, if you're like just in a public setting, stuff like that. I find it very, very nice to be able to get status involved. Now, obviously, story analysis is not 100% necessary. You don't need to be a huge fan of every single character that you cosplay. In fact, you don't even have to know much at all, but in my opinion, it does really help to at least watch an analysis video. This will allow you to really like understand the story arcs of a character and be able to understand the relationships between different people if you're doing a group setting. So, on top of that, like it depends on which kind of story arc you're pulling from because, characters go through a whole development phase. And if you want to embody more of the dark moments, you can. And it really helps to know what led up to the moment so that you can react to certain props or even recreate the kind of like demise of the character. For other research types, you can look at other cosplayer photos. You can look at photos just in the area to help inspire you and really allow you to embrace a character better. And then also, merchandising and fan art are really, really going to help you figure out what a character is going through and what is very popular for people to perceive the character as. So, if you look at Zelda right now, a ton of Zelda stuff is like memes from the Tears of the Kingdom, which is very, very popular right now. And that is a huge aspect of the fandom, which is in turn a huge aspect of the fan art right now. And that can really help for you to get ideas of the setting that you want to go. If you want to go with a silly photo shoot, if you want to go for a more serious photo shoot. But it's little things like that to pay attention to because that can really elevate your content to the next level if you do a little bit of what's popular right now. Merchandise can also really help you figure out what the character was intended to be perceived as. So, like Marin from My Dress Up Darling, a lot of her merchandise right now is very adult. So that can help you like try to figure out what kind of content you want to make and if it is a correct character for you to do considering the type of content and merchandise that is out. And then on the like turnaround for that, Pokemon has a huge variety of merchandise all the time and you can really use that to like you can use the current merchandise to really tie into the current community. And that will allow you to be able to interact more with what's popular and trending and be able to just, stay on top of it a little bit more because merchandise is always evolving. So these are examples of like how I posed based off of different things that were popular at the moment. Marin from My Dress Up Darling, I went with one of her more cutesy poses, it's taken straight from a prize figure that is popular right now. And I literally tried to like copy and paste what she was doing. And I think I did pretty well on this one. My next one is pulled straight from the anime. Demon Slayer. This is a very iconic Nezuko scene. There's a lot of fan art of this made just because it's so silly and so innocent. And I feel like this in itself allowed me to really embrace how child and innocent and just, goofy the character is. But it's something that I had to go back and find the exact, like, kind of posing for. And then, of course, there is just the generic kind of superhero posing that I did here. Gwen Stacy is very iconic with her hood up. So I pulled straight from like reading her comics and going back over the iconic like cosplayer poses for this. And I absolutely love Gwen. She's one of my favorite Spider-Verse people ever. And this is just an example of me pulling it directly from like a source of her original like comic stuff. I absolutely love it. So, on top of character research and character posing, there's also just hot person posing, which is going to be very helpful for you to default into for any kind of photo shoot. Posing is pretty difficult overall if you're trying to represent yourself as the character instead of like just the character. Basic modeling isn't natural for everybody. Not everybody has really like hands-on experience with that. So, it's really important to kind of look in the mirror, kind of figure out how you like to position your body, how you really like to hold yourself, and how you think works best for you. I personally know which side I like is good. I know how I want my body to be kind of like figured, to be able to show off like certain aspects of my costume, to be able to pose in a very elegant way. But there's also times where I wanna be crazy, so I practice those poses, I take selfies of it so that I can look back on what poses I really like to be able to recreate them instead of stuttering and pausing on set. Now, the hot person posing has a variety of, like, generic ideas in it, and one of the biggest things to, like, keep in mind is using your hands. Everybody gets really confused and concerned with, like, "What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do." So, using your hands to interact with the space or your costume is a great idea, whether it be gesturing to part of the set, gesturing to yourself, gesturing to like the sky, just use it to extend the like line of sight so that the focus is going through the body, not just like on your face. And having a prop is a great option for this, or having parts of your costume that are easy to grab or manipulate is going to really help guide your hands onto a more natural kind of wave. I know that's really confusing, but I'll show you all examples, don't worry. But yeah, I find myself all the time using my costume, gesturing to jewelry, accessories, the wig, the hair. And that really adds a lot to your photo so that you're not just like standing there with your arms down or standing with your arms up. It will allow you to feel more comfortable as you continue to do photo shoots as well, because these will be poses that you can take from character to character or even just for yourself if you end up modeling for yourself or self shooting or any of that kind of stuff. Another part of like hot person posing is going to be adding depth by using angles. So, one of the biggest basic modeling tips is to create triangles with your body, whether it be with your hands, your fingers, like your arms, your legs, and like angling your body to be able to become more space taking, and it will really really help you to be able to like move so with meaning. If you know that you want to create a triangle up here, if you want to create one down on your like waistline, to draw the eye line going down and really looking at the detail of your costume and your character, which will add length. It'll add intentional stretching. So if you want to do like a sporty guy and do like the, jock kind of pose, you're adding triangles, adding depth, you're moving with intent. You could also do like Hercules kind of posing, stuff like that. And that will allow more depth in the photo. And if you interact with the set and space, it'll add even more dimension and draw and pull to the other parts instead of it being fully focused on like how you're using your body. So a few examples of that are going to be the first one is my Loki photo that is moving with intent, reaching and pointing. It is inviting the person into the photo. And while the focus is still on my face there, you can really see that the full costume is angled out and down so that you get this like good little diagonal with it. And then you can see a lot in the background that's adding depth, it's adding more character to it. And then even going back up the body, you can see that my other hand is still interacting with my space and the costume to draw it back in and make sure that it's not like my arm's been chopped off, because that is a big thing that happens. For the middle photo, it's again creating triangles, interacting a lot with the costume, and exactly what I meant by holding a prop is going to help. So without the prop in this Detective Pikachu outfit, I felt very awkward. I didn't know how to pose, but having just that little simple tool really allowed me to focus on something of, okay, I'm doing something up here. Oh, I'm looking at something down here. Oh my gosh, we can do that cute little like movie poster thing. And it allows for more natural ideas and flow in the shoot. And then still making triangles with the arm. My leg is also a little triangle, but you can't see it in the photo. And just that allows the flow of the photo to be all consumed at once instead of it being focused on like a weird hand gesture. And then my Han Solo on the very edge is a perfect example of just triangles everywhere. I've got the arm that is bent out. I've got the other arm up here with the prop that is like a little bonus token there. I got the leg going, and the other one is very relaxed, so it doesn't look like I'm awkward at all. It looks like I'm confident, and having my shoulders slightly like angled allows it to look more relaxed. And just like taking deep breaths before these photos were taken allowed me to kind of settle into the pose, which is another part of hot person posing. But I got more examples, don't worry. These are more like dimensionally spaced. So my 02 is a great example of the intentional stretching and being a little bit sassy. Her character herself is very sassy, but very like mean, honestly. And just the kind of look away, like, I don't care, you don't matter to me, but I'm still gonna stretch and like show off what I'm wearing vibe. It allows there to be space and dimension. And while I'm not interacting with the set, it still blends into where the focus is on me, but you can still appreciate what else is going on in the background. For the Loki one, it is very much just a generic pose. It is intentionally playing with the hair, but making sure that it looks natural. To be able to have a natural looking like hair movement, for me, I personally continuously move into the hair. I'm not just holding it, I am moving through it. Same with the black cat one on the other end. It is not just a hold. You are physically brushing as the photographer is taking the photos so that it adds a more natural effect. And for this Loki one as well, you can tell that like I'm doing a little bit of a sassy pose. I'm trying to angle my legs to where they look natural. The arm is adding support, but it's also there to where you can see it. No, it's like not too awkward. And the set itself is honed on like the center focus there to where I'm slightly angled on most directions. So the shoulders are tilted, but the waist is also tilted, adding that curve into the center. The black cat photo is the most unique one here for the hot person posing. It is not looking at the camera, not intentionally head on. And that really adds depth to the character, making it a little bit, arrogant, a little vain, which Black Cat is very full of herself, which I absolutely love. But she is, taking the time to look at herself, make herself pristine in the middle of a heist situation. And playing with the hair makes it very dainty, very in the moment for her, and it's adding angles to the body. You can see the other hand is against the mirror there. It's adding that triangle. It's taking the person from one hand to the other hand in the photo and creating depth. All right. Sorry about that. It skipped the slide on accident. So, posing is one of the most difficult things to like get down. It will take a while, take time, get comfortable with it, self shoot a little bit, and just feel it out. I always practice my poses before. I always have like a little Pinterest board of things that I want to recreate, and that has really helped me embody the character more. Now, another part of cosplay photo shoots is location. This can make or break a shoot, in my opinion. It can make it look from just like a silly little shoot, which is still totally valid and fine, to a print or something that you want to sell, something that you want to promote. And I feel like having locations really elevate your like overall results. So, a couple things to keep in mind when researching the location that you want to do is where's the story set? Is it in a Renaissance period? Is it like in a specific part of America, Canada, maybe even a tropical setting? Or is it just like a aesthetic overall? Like, it doesn't have to be straight from the source. It doesn't have to be the exact carbon copy of a set because that is just impossible to do unless you have a lot of money. But it can just kind of match the vibe. For Zelda, there are so many different options. You can go for like a very nice floral, you can go for regal, you can go for like a very natural waterscape. Like, there's just so many things that you can play off of in each kind of character setting. The biggest thing for that is just take your time to research what kind of vibe you want for your shoot. Because there's endless options for most of them, and it's really fun to play around with ideas and making sure that it's within your budget and it's something obtainable. You can easily make your own sets, and there's a ton of people that do that. Or you can even just use tapestries for the time being, or a blank wall and edit it in later if you really want. It is all up to you. There are a couple different options for using spaces, though, if you are wanting to go that route. You can use an outside space or a public space. And honestly, for these, you just have to make sure that you research guidelines and rules. Each park is going to have different regulations that they ask their community to follow. And the biggest thing for this is to just respect your space and the people around you. For specific outdoor shoots, I have done like park ones. I have done some in just like Christmas like settings. I have gone into like abandoned buildings, and it's just really important that you research it ahead of time. I've even called some different like community, like park ranger kind of stuff just to make sure that I'm following rules if I have to reserve spots because you don't want to overstep on somebody else's shoot as well. Some spots are extremely popular and you just need to be a little bit mindful? For studios, there are usually fees to use the space. And that's a good and bad thing. That means it's a regulated set. That means that it's most likely going to be air conditioned and that you don't have to maintain it yourself. But they can be expensive. So going in groups or waiting for sales is going to be your best bet for that unless you can like kind of negotiate in, but that is rare. Again, read reviews, be respectful, because you never know what each studio is going to expect and what each studio has wise. Some places don't allow shoes, some places don't allow specific lighting, some places don't allow like aerosol or super perfumed like pieces or even like prop weapons. So it really depends, and you really just got to read their like FAQ section and all of that. And if you're really struggling with where you want to shoot, I personally just look at other people's shoots and other people's like tags in the area. You can go onto Instagram and search by area and location just by putting the city or state into the like little location finder. And that will really open up different like aesthetic spots, aesthetic buildings and places, or even full on studios that people are using. In Fort Worth, there are a ton of different beautiful spots like the Fort Worth Water Gardens, there's Sundance Square, and a ton of other community based parks and public spaces to use. So it's really awesome to be able to just look at what other people have created and kind of get inspired by it. I personally look at all of my friends to see what places they like to shoot in, and I put it on my list of places to consider. It's really nice and really helpful. Come on, you can do it. There we go. So this is a example of matching the aesthetic. Care Bears is a early 90s, 80s, nostalgia show for most people. And the Care Bears themselves live in like clouds. So for this specifically, I didn't want to try to like take the city, take the bedroom, like little kid vibe. I just wanted to do a cloud set. So the photographer I was working with made a cloud set recently, and I was like, perfect, my Care Bear's gonna be amazing on that. And we just went for the cutesy overall, just cloud aesthetic, very soft. These two are examples of different sets that are easily obtainable in the DFW area. The Mushroom Kitty Cat is a random ballpark area in Dallas, and it is a very public space. They are totally good with people doing photo shoots here. It's very aesthetic, it's very awesome. I don't remember the park name off the top of my head because I'm a silly goose and didn't write it down. But it's easy to find places like this that are overcovered with scenery and just natural foliage. I really love it, and it was really easy to shoot in this space. It was also very hot outside, so nobody was there. Getting the timing for outside shoots is a little bit important. I recommend doing it right before sunset so that you can get those golden hour shots. Golden hour in Texas is absolutely amazing, so I absolutely love it. The demon little, like, pastel aesthetic one that we got going on the other side of this screen is taken in the Dollhouse Studio in Dallas. It is a very awesome studio, little set that you can rent out. It was not too expensive. I went on one of their sale days. They have a lot of sale days, and they are run by the same people that do the Dream House location in Dallas. And I absolutely love it. They have a lot of different spaces in this one particular studio that you can use. And it is completely bring your own equipment to this. They do have some lighting options, but they will not provide any cameras or anything for you at this studio. But I absolutely love it. It was pretty cheap for me to split up in a group. I think I only paid about 120 for the set and then obviously paying the photographer as well. These are examples of free spaces that I have used. The arcade one is the Black Dog Arcade in Irving, I believe. And it is an admission based arcade, but there are a ton of free arcades like round ones and other mini ones that you can easily get in and shoot. Just contact them ahead of time and make sure that it's okay or read up on their rules. Normally, they are totally fine as long as you're not disturbing the public and not wearing anything too adult. The other two that I have showing here are just ones that were taken randomly in the Bedford area. The Christmas one was just a light display in front of a library that was there during COVID to just go up and take photos. Just go up, keep your distance, and have fun with the space, you know? And then my Claire cosplay was just an abandoned building that was completely fine to park in. It was free parking. It was just there and it was really aesthetic for the kind of grimy, grungy, the world's ending kind of vibe. And it fit really, really well. And I loved it. We were in and out of there. We respected the space, and that's really what is important with these free to use spaces. Now, after you find a location, you're going to need a photographer if you're not ready to self shoot. And there's a couple of things that I always like to discuss. Now, this can be discussed email, DMs, in person, phone call, any form of communication, but it is very important to talk about these things, in my opinion. So, asking questions is the best way to make sure that everything is completely understood by both parties. Rates and collab trade are always my first thing that I ask just to get expectations right. If a photographer approaches me at this point in my career, I do have a rate for modeling or just working with them unless there's something that we can work together on that would also benefit me. Just because I have so much experience under my belt and such a network in my like range, compensation is important. And that is the same way with photographers. If they've been doing it for a long time, they need to be compensated either with something that they want to do, something that they're willing to do, or whether it be like, financial compensation. After going over that basic first note, boundaries are very important to get across, whether you are talking emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, like your body itself, kind of what you are comfortable doing, what you are absolutely not comfortable doing, and just what the overall communication needs to be like said. I personally say, like, I don't do adult content, I don't do anything like at all like that, just because that is not something I personally want to partake in. And I always make it clear that, like, I don't want them to be posted on any subscription services unless I'm allowed to do the same. I don't want there to be any photos from this angle or this angle. I don't want there to be anything that is too scandalous posted. If anything makes me uncomfortable, I want to go back and delete it immediately. And then for restrictions, like, I want to be able to bring a plus one. But that is just something that I am always, always, always wanting to make sure is clear with a photographer just for my own safety. And I touched on it a little bit, but the printing and publishing rights. I, like I mentioned earlier, I do cosplay professionally. So that means that I print posters and little photo cards for my cosplays just for inventory whenever I'm guesting. These are not necessary in cosplay careers, but it is something I really like doing. So making sure that it is okay to do that, making sure if there's a fine or a fee or even a split in profits is really important to communicate and go over just so that there is no issues in the future. File sharing preferences is also a big thing on top of that. Because if you don't know how to get your photos, you're not going to be able to use your photos. I personally use Dropbox and Google Drive just because it's really easy to send it across and be able to get them printed and access them to be able to post across all my social medias. The overall expectations are also really important coming forward with how you want things to look, how you expect things to turn out, how much you're expecting is also really, really important because you never know how many photos you're going to be getting back from a shoot because you never know how it's going to turn out. So, saying, like, hey, I'd really love to get a couple shots that look like this, I'd really love to have a couple shots that look like that, and having this amount ish total. Now, obviously, things happen. It may not be 100% like up to your expectation or standards, but having that in mind is always a great idea. And then a big thing to talk about with photographers is making edits to your photos, whether that be fine tuning yourself or completely like removing yourself from the original set and adding it into a more animated and or different entirely kind of result. Just because some people over, like, the course of my career, I found either really, really edit their photos or don't edit their photos. And having that conversation will really help with the expectations as well. And it will also help with the rates and financial like compensation that was discussed earlier to be 100% clear. Now, this is just for booking the photo shoots and being able to work with somebody, but at a Comic-Con or event, it's gonna be very different. There's gonna be a huge amount of photographers, which is gonna be very, very different because some of these people are not experienced, which is totally fine. Some of these people work for big brand names, some of them work for their own names, and it is very different vibe just overall. So, convention photographers are very fast. You want to get in, you want to get out, and move on to the next thing. And it is okay to say no to them if you don't want to work with them. Some people will ask for a photo, you don't have to. It's always an option, even if it doesn't feel like it. You're not a bad person for saying no. But also, because it's so fast paced, it's really important to have a way for them to find you or tag you or credit you in the photo if they are doing that. So I personally have business cards. I think I had one out to be able to show y'all, but I have misplaced it, I think. Oh no, I've totally misplaced it. Do I have just, I should have a random business card actually in my little R2D2. I do have mine. So this is one of my older business cards, And it's very simple. It's got my name on it, it's got my social media handles here, and it's very easy to tell that it's me because it's normal me on the front and then a cosplay version of me on the back. This is my Harley Quinn. It was a very big cosplay for me at the time, and this QR code went to my Facebook page. It no longer works, don't try it. But something simple like this, and you can even make a space right here for other information. I like to have a little gap to be able to write a note if needed. And having this will be able to network yourself a little bit better. I find it to be 100% necessary to have at conventions or just when I'm out and about because it's never a bad opportunity to network, at least in my opinion. Now, there are a ton of photographers out there, and that's really overwhelming in my opinion. But each photographer is different, and that's really something important to keep in mind. Each photographer has their own different style of shooting, they have their own editing process, and not everyone is going to have the same equipment. So make sure to do research on what their work looks like, how their work is made, if they have that as like a source that you can view. And keep in mind that more edited aesthetic photos that are very fine tuned are going to be more expensive just because there is more work put into these results. And because of that, it's probably going to result in less photos that you're receiving back from the shoot. Just because, like, editing your eye color, editing your face shape, editing your costumes, contrast to the space is going to be really time consuming, and you have to keep that in mind when you are going about a shoot. For the actual equipment that each photographer uses is going to vary so much, especially depending on if you're in a studio, if you're in an outdoor space or a convention. And this doesn't mean they aren't equipped for your shoot. It just means that they have different preferences. A lot of people like to add lighting effects in the like editing process. Other people like to bring little like rainbow cubes, jelly lights, ring lights, and it's all going to vary on what this person is comfortable with and what they can carry. Because if you're doing an outdoor shoot, it's going to be very hard to lug around three jelly lights on top of a spotlight, on top of your camera and your extra battery and lens equipment. Like it is a lot. But if you're in a studio that has lights, then it's going to be very easy to manipulate the space and add different effects and add different glows to you. But also at a con, it's going to be fast paced. Some people set up a different area where they have like a couple different lights going or just a single spotlight. And that's awesome. It works really well, but not everyone is able to do that either because they can't afford the equipment at the moment or they just didn't want to bring it. So, gotta keep in mind what each photographer has in their inventory. And it's a great opportunity to ask if you can edit and add different lights or effects into your own posts. It's a good communication point. There's also going to be different types of photographers. Each photographer has their forte. Some do modeling, some do weddings, some do like portrait, some do concert, and there's just a whole variety of different types of photographers and what they like to specialize in. And not every single photographer has been able to practice cosplay. It's a very different thing. It's almost like a theater aspect. And while it is still an up and coming like hobby, it is very hard to get like your first shoot in with somebody, especially if you're booking it like in running your own business. So it's okay to work with people that don't have a ton of cosplay photography experience. It just leads to more points for communication and more like, you know, open-ended conversations during the shoots and all of that good stuff. Next one. So this is a great example of how a photographer has different equipment and how they just shoot and perceive stuff differently. The one in front of the lockers, you can tell is a little bit color graded, a little bit different because it is the exact same wig, but the wig is a little bit more yellow, which I think matches the set really well. You can also tell that the set is more involved here. I'm still the center of focus, but you can still enjoy the rest of what's going on in the background. For the middle one, it was actually shot outside, which is completely different. And the lighting is completely different. There was still a spotlight on me, which you can kind of tell by the shine in my suit, but you can see that it's a lot more of a natural edit. It was really focusing on me cosplaying, not the character like portrayal in this moment. The bodysuit itself wasn't like super edited out for wrinkles. It was just very much done. And I like it. This is actually the shoot that I took my print from. I do like this style. And then you can see the complete contrast where it is a darker lighting, very much like drowning out the background to where the focus is very much on my face, which I very much enjoy as well. This aesthetic, it adds a little bit more of a mysterious vibe behind it. And it really allows the focus to be on the shadow, on the figure that you can see from my costume, and the smirk that I got. Like, this character, could it be the evil version, or is it the actual, like, sassy little girly pop character, you know? I really enjoy the contrast between these 3. They are all completely different, but all awesome photographers, and I absolutely love just looking at the differences. There's also the convention style. These are very fast-paced shoots. So the one on the left side is outside. There was one big ring light involved, and you can really tell that it is a very natural result, not too much edited on it. It's just very much Supergirl in her natural environment. The one in the middle was actually taken on my phone at a very high angle just because the lighting wasn't great. So we had to work with what we had, and it turned out very nice actually, compared to the one on the far right, where you can tell it's a little edited. You can tell the background is blurred so that the main focus is me in the cosplay. The coloring is a little bit more crisp there, but it doesn't take away too much from the actual like outfit that I'm wearing and the characters like full on like I am here kind of vibe. And I really like that. I love seeing contrast photos. It makes me so happy. Now, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but group shoots are super duper fun, but they're also a little bit stressful. So, regardless of who you're working with, if they've been your friend for 5 years or 5 minutes, it's really important to communicate very similarly to the group how you would a photographer. And you got to start off with the basics. What is everybody's boundaries? What is everyone's expectations? What is going on with each individual person? Because everyone's going to be different. Everyone has a different, like, boundary. They all have different, like, lives, backgrounds, and baggage. So it's really important to be forthcoming with all information for every single person involved, even if they're just like a handler in the situation. Having a simple schedule for a group shoot will also really help, and you can make it as simple as possible or as in depth as possible as like, oh, well, we'll have an hour to shoot these two together. We'll have an hour for y'all to shoot these two together. And then at the end, we'll come together for a big group photo. Or you can break it down by like photo that you want to try to recreate. You can be really, really, really intricate if you want. And I think for that, it really depends on how big your group is and really what the mood overall is. Because some people are very laid back while others really like to stick to a schedule. Planning out a little bit of like a group shot idea, whether it be through a Pinterest board or just like pulling screenshots or even simple sketches would really help the day of. Plus, having ideas for video opportunities, since that is a huge part of content creation now. I personally like to pull directly from manga and TV sources for different aesthetics and group shots, whether that be for audio clips of like somebody having a monologue and reacting, or just being able to interact with each other in a playful dynamic. I love that stuff. The next one is going to be posting permissions. Like, if you are planning to post it on social media, you got to get everybody's information. I find that to be extremely, extremely important. If I'm posting one of my big My Hero photos, I want to tag every single person in it. I want to tag every single photographer that helped with that photo specifically, just because it adds community there, and it really allows people to share and network together because doing group shoots is about having fun, but it's also like, a huge networking opportunity for a lot of people. This is some people's like first time to really get comfortable in a group setting and a community, and it's really important to have that like just transparency and support. Now, if you are planning to sell anything, whether it be on a subscription based website, subscription based service, downloadable content, or print like physical copies of anything from the shoot, it's really important to get permission from every single person that is involved in that photo or in the shoot just to make sure that expectations are clear. Like if somebody wants a cut of it, if somebody's not okay being on a like physical copy of something, or if somebody just doesn't want to be on a subscription service. Everybody has preferences, and it's really important to make sure that everybody is comfortable with that because that could be really bad for the person seeing the photos again or just not good for you. And to save yourself time before a group setting and or meetup, networking beforehand is a great way to make sure that everybody's tagged on social medias, making sure that everybody has a way to share and access the results. And it's just an awesome way to stay connected afterwards so that you can do it again. These are a couple examples of some group slash collabs that I've done. Another My Hero one that I've done was absolutely amazing. There were so many people there, but this is one of my favorite photos from it. We had a Dobby, a couple Twices, and then me as Toga. And this photo was done by Chase, who I've been crediting throughout this entire presentation. He's amazing. And I really just love the dynamic of this photo. It's just so silly, but serious at the same time. I love it. And, making sure that I credited everyone. These are all Instagram names, by the way. And then the one on the other side of the slide is just a duo shoot. It's very cutesy, very sassy, very just one on one, feeling the space and having a good time. And this was with Claire Detfield as Kurami, and I'm My Melody from the Sanrio slash Hello Kitty universe. Very cute. And the photographer here is absolutely awesome. Tib, T minus photos on Instagram. Absolutely love this. It's just very dynamic, very playful and lighthearted, which very different like settings on the My Hero shoot. We had a plan, we had groups, we had everybody communicating in a group chat compared to, hey, let's just throw these outfits together and have fun. Love both. Now, preparing for a shoot is always a little bit hectic. I've been doing this for so long. I like to prepare as early as possible when I can. But obviously, sometimes I'm not prepared. Practicing your makeup and putting on your costume fully is a great way to make sure accidents don't happen to where you're forgetting pieces or not happy with the result. And saving photos that you've been practicing on. I like to do a photo set before the photo shoot just so that I can look back on it and know what poses I want to recreate, knowing what angles I really like, and knowing how I like to wear the costume to where it looks most like the character. I really like doing that. It make me happy and make the shoot easy. Setting it all out the night before is also a great example, and then you can also kind of see what needs to be changed. The night before wearing my Claire from Jurassic World, I realized, oh my gosh, my purple shirt is not faded enough. So at midnight, I went through and I dyed it in tea to make it look more grimy and grungy because I'm crazy and I wanted it to be accurate, even though it's just supposed to be like a fun little silly outfit. I get way too obsessive sometimes. And I think laying it all out really allowed me to have that perspective of, oh my gosh, wait, I'm not happy with the results, but I'm glad I'm taking the time now instead of doing it the day of. Because, oh my gosh, if I did it the day of, it would have been so bad. Just so bad. But laying it out allowed me to fix it. Yes. But in preparation, also, I think it's really important to bring a change of shoes and clothing, especially if you plan to go out and about before or after, just so that you're not making yourself a target in a public space and so that you can be comfortable before and after your shoot. I always change on set. I find it to be easier for me, so I always have something to wear before and after, especially since my car doesn't have good AC right now. I also like to prepare a repair kit and a makeup kit to be able to do touch ups and repairs if needed. Also, if you're able to go and scout out the space beforehand, I always recommend doing that. I think it is amazing to be able to mentally prepare yourself and to be able to really feel out the space and pick little areas that you want to utilize. And then my biggest thing is always try to have a plus one or a handler for your shoots. It will help you, it'll help the photographer, and it'll add an extra eye of perspective for your entire shoot. And you never know, the handler slash plus one might have the best shot idea. Now, the day of the shoots are very stressful. And I know firsthand how bad or amazing a shoot can go. So I like to be there early. I like to try to be there 20 minutes early if it's a solo shoot. If it is a group shoot, I try to be there like 40 minutes early just in case somebody needs help or is struggling, or if I get lost, which I do also tend to do a lot. Laying everything out will really help you mentally prepare before you put it all on, and making sure that everything is crisp and you have it all. Taking inventory is a huge priority in my mind, just so that I make sure I have everything on my person so that it's laid out correctly, everything's in order, and so that I don't forget anything at the end. Going over ideas and poses is also just a great idea for yourself and for the photographer if you're able to. Now, you're not always having the luxury of time for these shoots, but you never know. You know, I love going over the set with everything, being like, where do you want me? Where's the lighting? Where am I supposed to be looking? It really helps me feel more comfortable and natural in the space that I'm in. And then, like I said, having that extra pair of eyes is absolutely amazing. It helps with the behind the scenes video if you like that type of content. It helps with being able to see costume pieces that aren't cooperating, like wigs or little fur bits. And yeah, making sure to ask for feedback during the shoot is also a really big thing that I recommend. It'll help you feel more comfortable with the shoot. It'll help you feel more comfortable with the results. And it'll give you a general idea of what you need to change or accentuate in your photos to be able to get the optimal output. Now, a lot of people like to rush through shoots, which sometimes you just have to. But if you're able to, you need to take the time to hydrate. You need to take time to breathe, make sure that you're comfortable in your space. If something's wrong, you need to communicate it. And you can really only do that if you take a second to gather yourself, which is really important. I can't stress that enough. It'll really help you re energize yourself during a shoot and be able to continue doing what you're doing and slaying away. One of the biggest things that people tend to overlook is having fun during a shoot. If you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not enjoying your character, you may not enjoy the results because you can tell when you're stressed out in photos. You can tell if you're not having fun. You can really tell if you're not comfortable in your space or your costume. So even if you're faking it, it will help. Even if you're trying to psych yourself out, if you don't feel confident, it will it'll show. And I know that's silly to say, but being confident in yourself will be confident in your photos. Now, after the photo shoot, there is going to be a lot of stress, a lot of havoc. Take a minute, take a breath, and start from the top. Go over what you need to do to be able to access your photos. And going over how to tag and print if you are doing that is really important just so that all communication is there, all communication is clear, and to where everybody is comfortable with that so that it's fully discussed. Now, the biggest thing that you are going to need to do is make sure that payment is sufficient or the trade is sufficient. Now, a lot of people will shoot for free, which is absolutely amazing for both sides. It's experience, it's content, but you did the work during the shoot. They're going to have to do the work after the shoot. So making sure that they at least have a little gift or a little offering of food, or just something to show that you appreciate their service is really, really nice. I think it adds a really good note to your relationship. I think it adds just, you know, a really good positive vibe at the end, and it allows people to remember the shoot in a positive light. Being like, oh, well, it was a free collab shoot, but they made me this really awesome trinket so that now I want to get the photos done faster. And it's just nice thing to do. Everyone's human. Be nice. Now, regardless of what kind of space you're in, you're going to need to clean up because photo shoots are going to be messy. You may have left a little bit of trash. You may have, like, dropped part of your costume. So, making sure that you are leaving with everything you came with, taking inventory, cleaning up if you left a mess, making sure that, the space is better than you found it. The Girl Scout way. I think it's really important to just respect the environment and respect the people around you and, be nice. I shouldn't have to say it, but I feel like I need to. Once you are home from your shoot, it's nice to be able to clean up what you've used, whether that be your wig, make sure that it's maintained and nice and put away properly. I always like to clean my costumes, whether that be with a high alcohol spray just to disinfect or throw it in the washer. I do that almost immediately when I get back just to make sure it's clean, that it's going to be put away properly, and that it is ready for the next time I want to wear it. I also like to do a little bonus of thanking everybody that was involved, if possible, whether that be in a DM or a story post or just some kind of gesture of like, oh my gosh, it was so fun. Thank y'all so much. I can't wait to see the results. And now that you've done your photo shoot successfully, you can just chill, relax, and review the content you've made. I think the biggest thing to do is to take a moment to kind of reflect on what you want to do better for the next time and what you'd really like to do at the shoot that you just completed. Because everybody messes up sometimes and that's okay, but give yourself credit because, it was stressful and you did a good job. And yeah, that is how I have been doing photo shoots, at least for cosplay. And I absolutely love doing it. In fact, I have a cosplay photo shoot tomorrow and I'm very, very excited. It's going to be a group shoot. And yeah, I'm very, very hyped up. I need to sneeze. Sorry about that. But yeah, that is it for this presentation. I hope that you liked it. I hope that y'all enjoyed all of this, and I hope that it was informative because I spent a lot of time on this and I plan to, just keep spreading information that I can, keep helping anyone that needs it, especially in this community because I'm an open book. I like to help when I can. And yeah, I've been doing it for like 7 years, and I think I've got a little bit of a handle on things. I say that, but my last shoot was absolutely horrific. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching, coming out to hang out. I hope that you had a good time. And we have a little bit of time for a Q&A if anyone wants to answer or sorry, if anyone wants to ask any questions. If not, no worries. Woo. I did leave quite a bit of time for Q&A section just because I knew that there was going to be questions, but since we have a little bit of a low attendance right now, that is okay. We can just hang out for a minute and then end early. I'd rather end early than end late whenever it is a little bit slower.